This is my new game, Dr. Margo. My name is Chubbo, and I run Plus4 World. First of all, any resemblance of this game to other game must be a figment of your imagination. When I thought about writing it, I made a few mock-ups to see what it would look like. Here's a version using high-res graphics. This would have worked in character mode too. It seemed like the playing field was very small though. So I made this mock-up using 4x4 chunky pixel tiles, but the viruses didn't look good. And this final mock-up, which uses 5x5 chunky pixels, both look nice, and there's now enough resolution for the viruses to have enough character, and it also still just fits on the screen. This is what I settled on. The first development snapshot I saved. There's not much to see here, but in fact, a lot of work has already gone into development. Drawing the tiles is a bit tricky. I could have written a completely generic tile drawing routine where the input parameters are X and Y coordinates on the board and the tile to be drawn, and this could have been handled with the exact same code. However, I was worried about performance, so I wrote a small code generator. Each tile can be drawn to only 4 possible locations, shown here. So the generator creates a separate function for drawing each of the possible tiles to each of the 4 locations. The drawback is that this eats up a lot of memory, but on the other hand, it's extremely fast. Because of this, there isn't any tearing under normal gameplay unless a lot of tiles are falling at the same time, and I found that to be acceptable. In hindsight, maybe this was a bit over-engineered, but I didn't even come close to running out of memory for this game, so it's fine. The second development snapshot has a level generation and animation. It's still just barely a proof of concept. And this third snapshot can now display a capsule which falls, can be moved and rotated, but when the capsule lands, nothing happens. So at this point, there is a 5-year gap in development. This project got put aside because I started working on that sector at that time, and after that came a whole bunch of other projects, but I eventually picked it back up. So this fourth snapshot shows that the game is starting to be functional. You can make connections, but the remaining capsules don't fall yet. My Plus4 World friend George, who also has a great YouTube channel, usually asks me what was the biggest challenge while developing this game, so I wanted to mention that coding the logic for the falling capsules was by far the hardest. So much so that my first iteration of the code, which tried to use a recursive algorithm to find the islands that would fall, was completely thrown out. I had to rewrite that entirely, but now it works well. By the way, the background here is fake. The text is kind of baked into the background. It doesn't print anything yet. And here's the final snapshot I wanted to show for one reason. At this point, Kichi and I were still discussing how to handle the large viruses. As you can see here, if we made them static, we could have had 2 per character colors, which looked great in my opinion. And it sort of broke my heart that we would lose those colors, but ultimately we decided that the virus dance was more important. This meant that because of the overlap and we wanted to avoid color clash, the colors would be reduced. It still looks great, by the way. I like it. So from this point, it was relatively easy to finish coding the game. I think the game has the nicest menu that I've ever coded. Lots of little details there. I also wanted some real players to test my game. I found a Discord channel where Solar Espion gave me a ton of really good feedback on what needed to be improved. Things like timing, movement, etc. This brings me to the thanks section. Thanks to Solar Espion for the previously mentioned help. It was truly necessary for the game to be as good as it is. Obviously, huge thanks to Kichi. I think he underestimates himself. He would say, oh, I don't know if I can draw a character like Dr. Margo, but then he did. And all the little details that we added, the blinking, the little speech animation, the foot tapping, really bring it to life. Also, thanks to Sukopera for testing the SNS controller code. I think finally my controller code there it's in final stages. It now includes detection and such. So I'll probably just be copying the same code to any new game that I develop. And thanks to everyone else, the usual gang who helped looked at the game. I suspect that Dr. Margo won't be a huge classic, but I'm happy with it. And it's here for you. Yay, new game for the Plus4 and it's free and everything. Just go and play it.